All right, welcome back. This is section 2.3. This is add real numbers. And in 2.3 and 2.4, I really suggest not using a calculator just so that you actually understand the concepts. Okay, some instructors, we don't allow calculators in pretty much all of 85. And then others don't allow it for this whole unit. I'm more towards the side of I just don't want you to use calculators, and especially 2.3 and probably not 2.4 either, just so that you do get those concepts. Okay, so all in 2.3, let's not use the calculator. Okay, so like in the other sections, like the fraction work, we were showing all of our work, so we weren't relying on the calculator to do it. We were still showing it, right? Okay, so let's get started here. So for part 1, we have plot 3 and its opposite. So go ahead and plot the 3. So that would be here, right at the 3. Just go right on the line, okay? Don't go below, don't circle the number. Just a dot right there is perfect. And what do you think the opposite of 3 is? Yeah, it's going to be that negative 3 right here. Go ahead and try to answer 2 through... Let's see how many we can get on here. Let's just finish off part 1. See if you can do the rest of those. Just based on that one example, see if you can do the rest, okay? So try 2 through 6. Come back when you're done. All right, hopefully it wasn't too bad. So we have plot 5 and its opposite, so 5 and negative 5. Now plot negative 2. So there's negative 2 and its opposite. And since on the other two, we thought that the opposite was the negative, then it would make sense that then the opposite of the negative would be the positive. So it would be at a 2. Negative 4, and its opposite would be positive 4. Now, true or false, a number and its opposite are the same distance from 0 on the number line. What do you think? Well, we could count. Let's go with this number 4 here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice every single time, 1, 2, 1, 2, every single time it's going to be the same distance from 0 on the number line. So that is true. Number 6, true or false, the absolute value of a number. And what it looks like is it's a number with these 2 bars is the distance from 0 on the number line. And that is true. Okay, so for example, if we have the absolute value of 3, the distance from 3 on the number line is 3. If we have the absolute value of negative 2, that would equal 2 because it's the distance from 0 on the number line. So essentially, it is just the number, just without that minus sign. Okay, so it's always going to be positive. All right, let's see what we got here. Part 2, simplify. Okay, so if we have a negative 5 in part A, what do you think that's going to be? What do you think 2 negatives are? If you have a negative and a negative, those 2 negatives right there, that's going to be a positive. There's a few different ways to look at this. I'm going to show you a couple. Okay, so the negative 5, we said the 2 negatives are a positive. So if that doesn't make sense to you, a different way to look at it could be imagining a little 1 here and think of negative 1 times negative 5 would be a positive 5. That's the second common way that people understand it. I'm going to go ahead and erase that and then just tell you what the third way is. The third common way is people think of minus as like money. Like money kind of helps like when you're thinking about positives and negatives. And then I could also say minus like take away. So this would be like take away. And then if you have minus money, that's your debt. So if I take away your debt, I would be giving you a positive $5. Okay, so those are kind of the 3 different ways. So pick out whichever way makes the most sense to you and stick with it. Let's try to have you do the rest of those on your own. Okay, so when you start off B, here's a little hint, is just think of this this part that I'm boxing, just that negative, -8, solve that part first and then deal with that additional negative out front, okay? And then for the others, just go ahead and see what you can do. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, so some of you might have noticed that when we have an even number of negatives, that the answer is positive, but if we have an odd, the answer is negative. So in that case, you might not have any work for this B. You might have just noticed an odd number of negatives, so it's going to be a -8. Okay, others might have broken it apart, so I'm going to do it that way. Here's that negative, and we have a negative, -8, so just like in part A, this is going to be a +8. So essentially in the end, we end up with -8. Okay, so either way works. For part C, I'm pretty sure you got that one, just 3, right? Because it just got those absolute value bars. I'm betting D was okay too, just another 3. Because remember, that's just positive, distance from the number line. This next one might have thrown you off a little bit, because what's in the absolute value bars is only the 3. So that 3 stays positive, okay? It just stays there. However, this negative is not inside those absolute value bars, so that is just hanging out front. Okay, that is different than part D. So because it's outside, we just bring it down, it stays there. The absolute value bars do not apply in that one. I have a little bit of both things going on here in this one, in that we have to bring down that negative, and we also can simplify this -3 inside the absolute value bars. And just like we saw in part D, absolute value of -3 is a +3. So in the end, our answer is -3. All right, go ahead and turn the page. Now this one, this part 3, I've tried a few different ways of teaching this, and this way seems to be pretty popular. If you have a different method, you can feel free to try that out and see if it works for you as we go through each of these problems. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a -4 plus 7. If you can look at that and you know what the answer is, you don't have to worry about this number line business. Okay, this is just for people that aren't quite familiar too much with negatives. Because remember, we aren't using a calculator. We're trying to do this all without a calculator. So sometimes people get confused. So I'm going to go to a -4. I'm going to put a dot on here. That's my starting point. And whenever we have positive, we're going to go up the number line. And whenever it's negative, we're going to go down the number line. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So we have a -4 plus 7. So let's go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where did we end up? We ended up at 3. So -4 plus 7 equals 3. And again, like I said, a lot of people like to think of the positives and negatives in terms of money. So if you're like in the hole $4 and then you get 7, you end up with 3 because you had to pay off those $4 first, leaving you with only a +3. Okay, next, let's do 5 plus, let's do a -8. So if we're at 5, we're adding a -8. So negative, do you think we should go up or down? Let's go down, okay, because it's going to be a negative number. So negative, we're taking away, minus. So let's go down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where did we end up? 5 plus -8 is -3. So like in money, if you have $5 and we have to take away 8, you'd be in the hole $3. Let's have you do a couple of them, okay? I'm going to give you 2 of them. -8 plus 2. -2 plus a -3. Now, if you don't like this number line, that's totally fine, okay? If you have a different method that you like to use, go ahead and use that method now, and let's make sure that it works out with these 2 answers that we're going to get, okay? So however you wish to do these 2, go ahead and hit pause, give them a try, come back when you're ready. All right, so if I am at -8, and then I want to add 2, we would go up 1, 2, and end up at -6. If we are in the next one at -2, and we're adding -3, so take away, so go down negative. 1, 2, 3, we are at -5. Let's do a couple more. For this one, I'm going to have -1 plus a -4. And I'm going to have -6 plus 10. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause, give those two a try. Let's see how you do. So if we're at -1 and we add add -4. So as that -1 went down 4, I ended up with -5. That -6, and then adding 10. So I went up 10 and I ended up at 4. In the classroom for these last two here, I usually have you make up a couple problems to give to your neighbor and then swap and try them out. So if you want to make up your own and then solve your own, you can. You don't have to. Okay, it's totally up to you. All right, we are almost done here. We're getting there. Okay, so there's 5 parts to this. This is part 4. So part 4, it says, let x be a number. Translate the phrase, the sum of -4 and the number, into a mathematical expression. Then evaluate the expression for x equals -2. So, okay, so let x be a number, and then we want to translate it. So the sum, so what does sum mean? Sum means add, right? So -4 and the number, and it said that the number was x. Okay, so let x be a number. Then we have sum, -4, and the number. So I'm going to put -4 plus x. That looks pretty good, right? There's our expression already, -4 plus x. And then it says, evaluate the expression for x equals -2. So to do that, we just plug in a -2 where we see an x. Some people just write -2 like this. To me, it's a little bit confusing having the plus and minus right next to each other. If you're okay with it, go ahead and leave it. To me, it looks a little bit better if it's wrapped in parentheses. Just a personal preference. So a -4 plus a -2. So we'd have that -4 and then down 2 more on the number line, right? So we'd be at -6. All right, let's go ahead and have you try some of these. Go ahead and try the rest of this page, okay? And remember, no calculator, okay? So try the entire rest of this page. It goes through 7, it looks like. So hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, let's see how you did. So we had a person bounces several checks, charged some service fees. Oh, and the balance is -90.75. So if the person then deposits $300, What's the balance? So the best way I thought about this is let's look at the 300 and subtract that 90.75. Because if we start at that negative 90, adding 300, it's going to be somewhere around 200, right? So I went ahead and did that by hand. So I did the 300 minus that 90.75, ended up with the positive 209.25. Make sure you label it with the dollar sign. Next, we have 3 hours ago, the temperature was negative 11. It has increased by 5 in the last 3 hours, 5 degrees Fahrenheit. What's the current temperature? So negative 11 plus 5, I got a negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 4, negative 3 plus another negative 2, get negative 5. Number 5, and negative 3 plus 4, we'd be at 1. Number 6, we have 12, and then we're taking away 25. It made the most sense to me to think of it as that 25 minus 12 and then swap that over to a negative, right? Because if you have $12 and you're subtracting 25, you know that you're going to be in the hole. And you'd be in the hole $13. Next, I have negative 89 plus 57. That one also ends up being negative, right? Because that negative is way bigger than the positive. So at negative 89 plus 57, that's a difference of 32. All right, so that's why we subtracted a difference of 32. And it ends up being negative because that 89 is way bigger. The negatives outweigh the positives in that one. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. We have some fractions going on here. Let's go ahead. I'll do these ones with you. Let's just do them together, okay? So this negative, that can go out front, it can go up top, or it can go down to the bottom. Personally, I always put it up top just because to me it looks cleaner, it looks nicer, okay? So they already have the common denominator of 7, so let me write that down. And now I'm looking at a 5 plus a negative or minus a 3, which would be 2. Next one's got a little bit more going on because first I need those common denominators, right? So if you take a look at that, I think you'll see that common denominator is a 6, right? So in this one, if I have 3 and I'm trying to get to 6, I blew that up by 2, so I need to do that on the top. So now I have a negative 4 over 6 plus a negative 5 over 6. Now that I have that common denominator of 6, I'll write that in. And then again, I like to pop that negative up top, so I'm thinking of that as a negative 4 plus a negative 5 to get a negative 9. We can reduce that 9 over 6 to 3 halves. And it's up to you if you want to keep the negative up top or if you like it better out front in your final answer, you can do that. It doesn't matter. All right, for this one, we have a really large decimal, a negative one, right? And then we're adding another negative one. So what we would want to do is we're going to have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be a really big negative, right? Let's just ignore the negatives for right now, and we'll tack that on to the end. I'm going to see if I can squeeze that big one right underneath. See if you can do that too. It's very tiny. All right, as you get it in there. So now we're just going to go ahead and add. Okay, so 6 and 7, 13, 8, 9, 10 with the 1 would be a 1. I'm going to add in my decimal. 7, 5 and 1 and 13. 2 and 1, I got 3. 4 and 2 is 6. 8 and 3 be an 11. And then 8, 3 and 1 would be a 12. All right, so I got 121,633.13. Now remember, it's a giant negative. And that is our final answer. So we had a really big negative, added another negative to it, so it became even bigger negative. All right, last part. We're almost done. Part 5, find the difference of 6 and 4. Okay, so 6 minus 4. And the sum, 6 plus negative 4. And are they the same? go ahead and try all 3 of these, okay? Hit pause, give them a try, come back when you're ready. Okay, so 6 minus 4 is 2. 6 plus a negative 4 is also 2. Yes, they are the same. Find the difference. 7 minus 3, 4. 7 plus a negative 3, also 4. Also the same. I think they're trying to show us a pattern here. Okay, so based on the pattern from the last 2 problems, write A minus B as a sum. So in both of those, they started with whatever they were given. Okay, so they had 6 and 7, so we're given A. So let's go ahead and put A. And then in both of those problems, they then put a plus sign. And then they put something in parentheses. They put whatever that second thing was in parentheses with the minus sign, right? So we have an A plus in parentheses a negative B. All right, and that'll do it. That wraps up 2.3. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye.